Time now for a look at what's going on in the French papers. And Belle Lipton's here to talk us through the headlines this morning. Morning, Belle. Large part of the press focusing on this agreement between Russia and France, cancelling the sale of those two Mistral warships.
Indeed. Now, these were the two ships that France had agreed to sell to Russia back in 2011 under Nicolas Sarkozy. But given Russia's involvement in the crisis in Ukraine, France has now been seeking to cancel that contract since December. And Le Figaro on its front page leads with Mistral, the real cost of compromise with Russia. The two have finally found a way to make this cancellation happen. But what is France going to have to give up? So the centre-right paper says France will have to refund Russia just under €1 billion. And it's quick to point out that the political right is denouncing this decision as backpedalling on France's part. In the paper, it goes on with an article to describe the negotiations to terminate the contract over the last 8 months, because on the 6th of December last year, Putin and Hollande first met and agreed those two Mistrals would not be sold. They would not be delivered. But in the springtime, negotiations had stalled and negative reports started to appear in the French press. So one of the people close to the sources in that negotiating team said, or is quoted in the paper saying, one part of the Russian negotiating team wanted to bleed us dry. Finally, on Wednesday, the two presidents definitively agreed on the cancellation, and now it's up to the French to start dismantling what the Russians had specifically asked for in those two Mistrals. So they're calling this the de-Russification of these two ships.
Well, one of the things Russia hasn't asked for is that France pays any cancellation fees, which comes across as rather odd. Is there any clue why they've been so conciliatory on this subject?
Well, according to Le Figaro, it's because Russia actually needs the money, and it needs the money fast. So anything to hold up that negotiation wouldn't have been in their favour. So their economy is suffering and the Russians need the cash, so they've accepted for a deal that possibly isn't exactly what they'd want. Also, the Kremlin has apparently, according to Le Figaro, long been under pressure from the Russian Navy and the military, which didn't want these carrier ships to be coming from France. They wanted to make them themselves. They are now making them themselves. They'll be beginning that. But Le Figaro doesn't think we can see Russian Mistral equivalent for at least a decade. Now, Le Parisien takes the same story, and with their headline, it's for sale, two brand new Mistral à vendre. You can see it there. This is a tabloid, a nice tabloid witty headline, and apparently France has given itself just 8 months to sell these warships. For the French right, they're a little bit cross that this order to cancel the sales they see came from the US, but they are reassured by the fact that it's all right. At least a few countries are already interested in buying these ships. We've got Singapore, India, Canada, Brazil, and even Egypt named.
Let's move away from France for the moment. Well, still partly in France, I suppose. The other big story, of course, the debris from the MH370. We're now getting a lot of experts giving their opinions on this debris. How's that being reported?
Well, staying with Le Figaro, and it's the investigation, they say, is continuing in confusion. They dedicate actually a double-page spread to it. Contradictory information, Le Figaro says, was released on Thursday, and it tries to break down that mystery in this article here by collating the various accounts. The problem is that collation results in just more speculation, much more speculation than fact. Le Figaro says that after 17 months of quasi-silence, that's what they call it, from the Malaysian governments, victims' families across the world, not just in France, are tired of this haphazard communication. Now, Libération, a more centre-left paper, takes a different angle on the whole story. It spotlights the private detectives searching for an answer as to what happened to this missing plane. So some of them, it says, are close to the victims' families or are victims' families. Some of them are aviation enthusiasts and others are charitable scientists. Libération profiles 3 of these different private investigators. One of them is Ghislaine Ouatrelos, a 50-year-old Frenchman who lost his wife and 2 of his children when the plane went missing. He says he has zero confidence in Malaysia and so has joined up with other families to try and raise money. So far, no results, but he's happy that the plane was found at least on French territory.
Okay, let's wrap up with some lighter news. It's holiday season in France. For some, we're not on holiday, Bill, are we? But this does mean that, the holidays is all that anyone can really talk about. And that's true of the press as well, is it not?
It is indeed. So Le Figaro again, here we go. President Hollande and his secret holidays. The big issue here, well, no one knows where he's going. Now, for the president, he says private life is private, but apparently not for the others. And if you look just to the bottom of their page, they also have 3 other heads of states from around the world who have been taking controversial holidays when they should have been at home.
Goodness, it's damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Exactly.
Anyway, Belle Lipton taking us through the French headlines this morning. Thank you very much indeed. More, of course, from Belle later this morning with the international press. For now, though, you're watching live from Paris on France 24. Do stay with us.